Hi everyone and welcome back. We're here live in the Best Self Hub and I'm interviewing Scott Gullion today, who is someone that really inspires me in my life, and I've connected with him. He is a coach. That's initially how, well actually that wasn't initially how we met. I'll tell you a little bit more about that, but Scott does do, he works with people one-on-one coaching and within groups around trauma. He's also a spark hunter, which I love the sounds of that. And I want Scott to share a bit more about what that means today in today's live interview. And Scott, you're currently pulled over. You're making time for us today, which I'm so grateful for. And you're actually live. I'm interviewing you from a gas station. Why don't you tell us a little bit about where you are and actually why you're traveling by motorcycle across North America?
I am on my way to the start of a motorcycle ride called the rollingbarrage.com. It's a Canadian Veterans motorcycle ride going from Newfoundland, St. John, Newfoundland. We're going to ride all the way to Esquimalt, where a number of us actually deployed overseas quite some time ago. And so when I agreed to do this, I knew I was going to be riding. I just didn't know where I was going to be. So it turns out Montana. And fortunately, they were able to give me the Wi-Fi password, and we were able to connect.
Well, I thank you for your perseverance on that. And, we were working on it all morning, so I'm happy that we're here and that these people graciously gave you the Wi-Fi. And a little bit more about Scott. So he's a retired sergeant as well, had served 9 years in the Army. So just like given your background, the character you have, I think you're the perfect person to talk about overcoming adversity today. And why don't we start, Scott, with talking, well, first I actually will backtrack just a little bit. Scott and I have known each other, I think we go back, would you say 16 years or was it longer?
16 or 17 years ago, yeah. Okay. Right about 2000, I think, when I got my real estate license.
Okay, yeah, so Scott was in real estate. I'll do like a quick flashback because I was managing a health food store at the time. This is in Calgary, Alberta. And Scott used to come into the store and purchase stuff from me. And always had an amazing demeanor. And then I would run into Scott over the years in like personal development circuit, yoga classes, just like always kind of talking up. Eventually Scott, I was blessed to have Scott do coaching with me. And I just wanted to highlight that because I have been blessed to know you for that long. So negative information before we jump into the topic for today.
Well, here's a flashback to you, Julia. I'm going to spin it back on you. Is the places I kept running into were drum circles, yoga, all kinds of personal development work. When I was coaching other coaches, you happened to be showing up there. It was just everywhere, every couple of years, sort of bother. So how could I not connect up with you to do some form of coaching or be coached by you as well?
Yeah, thank you for that. And so I mean, to be here live with you and to know we have like an audience that's growing of people that are also like those seekers and people that are looking to improve their life and feel better and overcome adversity in their own lives. Like what's one thing, over your years of mastering your craft as a coach and supporting others, would you say you'd like to share today, or that stands out to you as being like a good tool that someone could go to at a difficult time?
Sure. One of the things is when people get stuck is they have to take a look at what's one thing they can do. So when a frozen state comes, oftentimes people will have massive anxiety, will have just get caught in doing distractions. And we can be so filled with distractions and detours around what our purpose is, that if we can get back into doing one thing that will take us a step closer to being on purpose. And even if that one thing is just doing something for yourself, like either to work out or even do a minute and a half workout for yourself can make you feel good out throughout the day. That intention saying is, hey, I matter. I matter to me. And that's who really...
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is like really changing your focus on what you can do, because I know for myself and for other people, like when you come up against adversity or maybe something you're living with your whole life, or you have a disability or a physical disability or something, that could get really frustrating every single day if your focus was like just on what you can't do. So reframing that.
Completely. And I mean, this is again, Julia, why you and I have gotten together, is when I heard that you had challenging times with reading in that, and yet you're doing online interviews, you're coaching at a very high level. You got to the States to coach other people down there. This is huge. All the different ways that you found to overcome these little things, well, actually not little things, big things. You know, hearing that type of stuff is exactly the kind of things when you find a way, you know, and that's it, find a way. Yeah. And we ask ourselves the better questions. How can I? It's not that I can't, it's how can I?
Like
just
how
keep focused on that.
To get through it or around it or find a way. And that's something that
over,
I have.
Under, around, or through.
And over, exactly. I did, so to share a little bit about that, I do have a form of dyslexia that I've shared with Scott and I'm really open about, that in my life felt like such a handicap for a long time, that, you know, I had repeated grade 1, gone to special schools. Like my mother, I was sharing just before we went live, we'll go to parent-teacher interviews and say to my teachers, like, what am I going to do with Julia? What is she going to do? Because she was so concerned about my future and hoping one day that maybe I could be a cashier or hold any job down. So what my disability or difficulty, however you want to look at it, it's invisible, you can't see it, but it was definitely a form of major anxiety for me, to the point where, like, this is probably hilarious, but even if someone would pull out like a board game at a house party, I'd start sweating. I'd just be like, oh my God, what if I have to read something? Like, it was this shame. And then now I'm to a place where I've worked so much through it that my adversity, I've been able to be very, very creative and resourceful and find ways to get things done. I mean, I can read much more proficient now, but for many years as a young woman, I'd hide that and not want to talk about it because I thought people would judge me. So that what helped me was really personal development and realizing that I am enough, even with my issues. I can still reach for the stars and go after my dreams.
Well, here's the thing: is Julia's been after this for so long. What is, you know, people say that somebody's the overnight success, but what winds up happening is when we can find purpose to the things that we need to overcome. Because just before you got recruited to go down to California there and do your coaching there, you were doing a little bit of coaching up here, but it was your mindset had changed because you were doing part-time cashier's work because you loved it. You loved the people. And then once you released your own ideas that were stopping you from doing this full-time, is bang. I think you and I only spent not that long together because it was such a whirlwind of bang, off she goes and into California. And this is what I believe the people that you coach and you work with need to get for themselves, is that everything is possible as soon as we find enough, great enough within ourselves that it ignites that spark and it fires off such that it will never be extinguished again.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up, because I wanted to come back to that part, and is finding that spark. So tell me more about how you have called yourself the spark finder or the spark hunter. What is that about? People finding that for themselves in their own life?
Whether it's Costco, whether it's meeting someone on the street, whether it's in the Legion last night at a very small town called Terry, that it's what I do. Is I want to find out what people are passionate about, what drives them, what causes them to want to have hopes and not just list, but to actually go after it, such that they have to keep on building a bigger bucket.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So you take a keen interest in what that is for people. What
It's dreams.
I have a question. Like, what brings that out? Like, what? Because you've been there. You've been at the front lines of these, these major seminars, leading people. When do you see people like have that breakthrough, like have that spark that just comes up their moment that they don't turn back and they go after their goal or their dream?
It's often attached to exactly what holds them back the most. For you, the reading thing was this huge thing. When you had the opportunity to overcome this, you found a way to overcome this, and it released so much pent-up energy that there was nothing that was going to stop you. And when I see someone come up upon something that's holding them back, it's like that builds up a rocket ship of energy that sits right behind them, and then when someone pushes the start button, they hit ignite, it just shoots off. It releases all that energy that they've held around those traumas that have been holding them back for their whole life, because they know the feeling of not doing it, that they won't ever go back to there again.
Got it. And what if someone's watching now live or after the live, and they're wondering, well, where do I even start to discover what might be holding me back? Like, how would they get there?
Okay, so it's tied to what gives people goosebumps and blinding rage at the same time. Because the blinding rage, or what causes you to want to destroy something, is when something that you so believe in, the core, perhaps your spark, is violated. And when you get goosebumps, it's that same spark is being validated.
Okay. So it's either like your belief or what you stand for is being deteriorated, or someone's like lifting it up and like pushing it up, so you're either feeling like great or not. Something's not matching up with your belief around that.
Yes.
So that's a good place to start.
If somebody's suppressing what your values are, of course, that's a good hint.
Okay. Yeah, because I feel like this is such a big topic, and I know that you're dealing with, you're doing this really incredible work with veterans and people that have gone through pretty experiences and traumas. What, from that work that you've done, like, what would you say is something that you'd like to share about, like, your greatest learning working with veterans?
So, a long time ago when I actually got out of the forces, I wasn't doing very well at all. I was in a pretty dark place. And through doing life seminars, I started to get my spark back. I started to come back to life. And what I realized is the more I feel alive, the more it attracts people around me, the more I desire adventure. I'm committed to empowering purpose and to live life ignited. So as long as I'm doing that, it picks up people around me. It's almost like it's contagious. I mentioned this ride to someone else, and they signed up and joined. I mentioned it to someone else. He couldn't do the whole ride, but he's going to meet us in Winnipeg, and he's going to ride with us out to Jasper. I love to see people get out and do things that they had thought about but never taken action on, to actually give them a chance to take action, because it's the action that causes us to feel it in ourselves.
Mm-hmm. It's almost like that new, for me anyway, like the 5-second rule. You might have this idea or a thought of inspiration or wanting to do something. A lot of people, and I've been there myself as well, will like give ourselves too much time to not act. So yes. It's like jumping and leaping, and like you have that urge to take that course or to perhaps extend yourself and go on a trip or something that's going to develop you as an individual. You actually following through and doing it.
In fact, it doesn't even have to be the same thing itself. You can do something different. Intentional actions. For example, if someone was to say they wanted to do 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 push-ups and commit that action towards whatever it is they say they actually desire, mm-hmm. that intention going into the muscles and into your being will cause you to think about it for the rest of the day. And then you're constantly having that question is, how can this happen? How can it happen? How can it happen? And eventually your mind waits for it to happen that you are that committed.
Got it. So if I'm just relating that to perhaps a goal. So you're saying it's almost like manifesting or like affirmations. Like you're saying, activate the body.
Oh yeah.
Into like what you're wanting to create. You and I would have talked about this before because I used to do a morning run. I do different morning rituals now. Morning run, and I would I see myself living in California. Like I would state like what I'm creating, and then you had brought it to me that like, oh, as you feel like excited or sore during the day, you're remembering like connecting that to what you're creating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's it exactly.
So I love that. I think that's great. I know
I'm talking to somebody on the computer. Oh, no problem at all.
You're so friendly.
Yes.
People want to know you. So you have Steve on live and wanted to say, Scott, thank you so much. Thank you for your service. And he also has a question. He said, what drives you to find out what the passion would be like when you're connecting with people? What's the driving force of that?
Great question. Because I expressly feel my own driving force, is I started to realize this, I can get it vicariously by helping other people find theirs. And that's like the empowering purpose is so close to me, is because I didn't know what mine was for forever until finally I worked with another coach that helped me find it. And then once I did find it, I mentioned it to my friends. I'm committed to empowering purpose. And they said, well, of course you are. It's like, well, why didn't anybody tell me? It's like, well, because it was so obvious. Often these things are so obvious to the people around us, but I was completely clueless, not knowing that if I had any purpose at all.
So it was like you being able to articulate that, and then now you're sharing it with others. But I love that your friends are like, that's what you do. And you didn't get the memo. Let's see.
Nope, not at all.
Scott, he has another question here. What's the biggest challenge, or what comes close to having not followed your passion? So your biggest challenge.
Biggest challenge
not
would
having
be
followed your passion.
Sorry, say that again.
So I'll read it word for word. What's your biggest challenge, or what comes closest to having you not follow your passion? Does that make sense?
Yep. Challenges cannot. People say they want change, but they don't always want change. And this is it. This is the difference between the action and the thought. People say they may want to go someplace, but who's actually going to do it?
Yeah.
How many times have we heard of people saying, oh, hey, let's go to the gym together? And yet it doesn't happen. We have to be committed to ourselves to do it first, and then we can start doing it with other people. I guess the other one, too, is to remember that we have to work with the willing. If it's free, and it doesn't matter to anybody else, nothing happens. If they don't have any of their own skin in the game, nothing's going to happen. And that's where I was so fortunate to work with people who paying $5 for these courses. And so they had a lot of skin in the game. Yeah. So much skin in the game that we could go after absolutely anything at all, and they were going to overcome stuff. Like, I was stunned at how fast things would change.
And you would say, in your example, that's because they had skin in the game from the financial investment? Well,
for one woman, the first one that really affected me the most was she'd already spent probably $18,000 on courses. And when I finally met her, she was at the last course, and she said that I don't do heights. And this flabbergasted me with the company to accept that as being a real answer. She had convinced the rest of the staff that she doesn't do heights. Well, I was a jumper and a jump master in the Army, so heights don't really do much for me. It doesn't bother me much. So built enough rapport with her over an hour bus ride, and basically then just said, do you think that I would ever take you to any place that would cause any harm? And she said, no. I said, well, then would you walk with me across this place? And so we walked together. And the object that we were doing that day was actually bungee jumping. She's like, there's no way I'm going to be doing that. I'm like, That's okay. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Just go and watch the other people. Watch the effect it has on other people. Because from my perspective, is 65 years old. You are how you are going to be for the rest of your life. And if nothing has changed so far, this is the last course. There's no more chances. You know, from my early days in personal development, I thought there was only one. And so, you know, that belief that came so deep within me affected her. And so as all these other people are jumping and coaching other people to jump off, and she can see them going from fear to bliss, fear to bliss, fear to bliss. And then suddenly I felt this wave of energy, and it's just I had to look around to see where it come from. And I caught her eye, and she had this spark and this expression in her eye. It was just like, so she was going to do it like right then and there. And it was so, still chokes me up to think of this. And just, but there's all these people. And it's like, hey, does anybody object if she goes right now? Everybody took a step back, said, go for it, go right now. And that woman changed absolutely every part of her life. She had not seen her mother in 20 years because she was embarrassed about how much weight she had. She dropped, I think, 40 pounds in the next 3 months. And this is stuff I heard months later from another mutual friend. So she dropped the weight. She got to go see her mother in Holland that she hadn't seen for 20 years because she was just embarrassed. She drove the motorhome home. She's just like on fire. Everything. She got voted MVP one night at this course just because she was just so out there. She wasn't going to miss another moment for the rest of her life.
So just got her.
And so having witnessed that once, could I do anything else?
Wow. Yeah, that's like witnessing those levels of transformation, and you know, the bungee jumping being the catalyst for that woman. How inspiring. And I have jumped out of the plane. I have not bungee jumped. There's something about that freaks me out, but I have been invited recently to do that, so maybe that's next.
Okay. So here's one thing that you can do. This comes from the Tao, which I also heard of from Wayne Dyer. Is there's 3 ways to raise your state. One of them is to do something for someone else. We all do something for. The second way is to allow somebody to do something for us. Oftentimes we deny people the opportunity to do things for us because, no, I got it, I'm big enough, no one has to do anything for me. But we're denying people the opportunity to feel good. Mm-hmm. The third way is to simply witness that transaction. When you watch someone else coach someone to jump out of a plane or bungee jump or to do some form of transformation, like in our past, we've both done some aero braking stuff. Mm-hmm. If you actually watch and feel what someone else is feeling, you can get the vicarious effect through them by witnessing. That's the third way, is just to witness that transaction where something so magical happens. You can feel it within yourself. Hearing these things start to sort for them. And then there's times where I can go for, 2 to 3 dozen waves of goosebumps in a day. Mm-hmm. There was at one point where it locked in for 3 hours. 3 hours of just sitting in goosebumps.
Wow.
It's just...
So you were allowing yourself to witness other people.
Yes.
And I imagine that... There you go.
Yeah, so for the experience of bungee jumping doesn't do anything for me. In fact, last time I went, I wore a heart rate monitor, and my heart rate only went up 15 beats per minute. And that was most likely from climbing up on top of the roof. I asked them what's the scariest thing I could possibly do bungee jumping. And so they said, climb up on the roof and we'll just let the line go. And you just will never know when it's going to go. My heart rate only went up 15 beats per minute. So that didn't do it for me. However, watching other people go is I could feel their state. I could feel the state they were in when they came back up.
Wow.
So that vicarious adventure type stuff is we can actually have vicarious adventures. If you don't want to go bungee jumping, just go and have a vicarious adventure. Watch someone else jump. Watch them come back up.
Yeah.
And see how you feel.
Wow. You get you're just, I imagine, so in it. And that's,
yes.
I guess my story is a little similar to the lady you just shared in that, like, that's how I ended up going skydiving, because I was so freaked out. I said, I went with my friend who's a huge jumper and packed shoes, he's really great. I said, I'll go with you and I'll watch. Then I got there, and I was like, I'll just go through the training. Well, I'll just get onto the plane. If I don't want to go, I don't have to jump.
Right.
Then I went for it and did it. But I think what you're saying, that could be, again, like such a good analogy for life too, like getting yourself in a place around people that are doing what you would like to do, but you don't believe it's quite possible yet, and picking up some of that energy and that momentum.
Absolutely. This is why we need mentors, because we can only do so much on our own. Yet, if you were to go, say, bungee jumping, and say there was 20 people there, you would get one jump yourself. But if there was 20 people there, you could have the effect of 20 jumps.
Yeah.
For no extra effort.
Yeah.
Just to be present to watch them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Like, how incredible is that?
That's I love that thought, and that's actually something that I'm doing, to go and support friends that are going and see what happens.
Well, and this goes right back to why coaching is so effective, is because, as I said earlier, is I didn't recognize that I had empowering purpose was what I'm all about. But it wasn't until I talked to it about with friends that it became so noticeable that way. Because a coach can see it in us. What we think is normal, they can see it as being extraordinary. Like, what I see in you is how you work with people is your compassion and your passion for people overcoming their own adversity is so huge, because you knew what that was like, to feel like you didn't have the ability to do something. Mm-hmm. So you're going to do whatever it takes to help them overcome whatever is, like, try and stop you. If anybody has you as a coach, they have no choice but to succeed, because you don't want them to feel that pain.
No, and I really, that speaks to me when you say that, because that's what really lights me up when I see someone. And I hadn't really connected it like that before until you said it, but that makes sense to me. Like, with my clients and people in my life, when I see them go from a place of like, oh, I don't think it's possible, to seeing that transition through to believing in themselves and like getting that determination and fierceness in them, I couldn't be happier. I love to witness that and be a catalyst or someone that can support that transformation.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I get from watching people come alive.
And that's, well, I absolutely am so grateful to you and the work you do, and on this earth, and healing a lot of people and dedicating your life to this work. So what's next for you? We have a few minutes left, and would love to hear a little bit more.
Well, I'm going to hop on a motorcycle and continue riding east, meet up with 17 across Canada. There will be up to 600 other riders that will join and break off as time goes along.
Yep.
And continuing to see where people are open to letting their trauma go. Because interestingly enough, is an awful lot of people are attached to it. It's become part of their story, part of who they are, part of their identity. And when they can realize that they can become so much more than just their story, it can become a part of who they were. It can become a part of what empowers them. It can become a part of what drives them forward. But that's all choice. And why I say it's choice is because they have to actually reach out and contact someone. If they don't reach out and contact someone outside of themselves, it's just not going to happen. Because if we could do it for ourselves, we would have already done it. And that's just how it goes. Sometimes we...
I totally, I hear you, and I agree with that. I mean, there's things that we all wish we would do or we want to do, and we're smart enough, we know what to do, but we're just not doing it. Neither then you need like someone in your life, like an accountability buddy, someone to kick you in the butt, put some money down, whatever it is that's going to get you to that next level that goal and hit that and make a change, then that's what I'm promoting today.
Well, this is, I mean, you were listening for this, none of this, when suddenly you put your mind to it and you were recruited to go down in the States and make this happen. When I set the goal to go on the rolling barrage, I didn't own a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I committed to ride across the country, and I didn't even have a motorcycle. I hadn't had one in over 20 years. So I just had a few things to do.
Yeah. Well, I would love to hear, for those of you watching on the future, what are you committed to? You know, what are you looking to transform in your life? We'd love to do that on the feed. And, you know, if anyone has a burning desire to get a hold of Scott, you can definitely link through and find him on Facebook. He's a busy man, and will be in and out of reception, but he is a force of nature, and I appreciate him. And thank you for being on the call with us today and sharing. So this
We're going to go for a ride here pretty soon.
Yeah, you show us your setup.
Got the nice big trailer, and a big bike to haul around. 1500cc Boulevard.
Wow. Right. Oh, okay, show us one more time and hold the camera a little longer.
Is that better? Sorry, there was a strong wind there, so I wasn't sure. Can you see that now?
Yep, so that's Scott's motorcycle he's riding across the country on. That's pretty impressive. I can imagine it gets a little cold.
So far, it's been freezing cold. It's been crazy hot. It's been soaking wet. Today, we got the soaking wet part. When we were trying to do our test call, I was on the side of the road, had this... the trailer that I've got back there propped open to protect the computer and all the electronics that I had all set up to try and get on the call with you. And then this hailstorm soaking it. So it was quite the adventure getting and then here I am, 25 miles down the road, and found a place where I could get some Wi-Fi. No cell service, but great Wi-Fi.
See, the perseverance just to get on this call is inspiring today. So...
Well, thanks so much for asking me to do this, Julia.
Oh, no, my pleasure. Thank you for joining us. And I'm going to basically just shut it down for today. But any questions after the live, you know, we're happy to hop in and answer too. So thanks for joining, and safe travels to you, Scott, and we'll connect soon, okay?
Sure, you can find me on Facebook if you want, and I'll be doing periodic posts as I go across the country. Okay.
Awesome.
Have a great one.
Become Scott's friend. Watch him travel across the country. Okay.
Mention Julia if you're going to send me a friend request, just so that I know where it's coming from.
Good idea. So you want to accept. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, mention my name then if you want to.
Thanks, Ken.
Scott. Okay. Peace. Bye.
Awesome. Have a great one.